What up, rock stars? It's Steve from Black Octopus Sound, and I really want to do this tutorial video for you. It's for that very particular situation when we use a drum loop or a percussion loop from a sample pack, and maybe we have an existing drum loop already in the pack, and then we layer a new loop on top of that to fill it out, give it a little bit more energy, and to fill up some space. And maybe the groove of the new loop that we've added doesn't quite match with the groove of our track, and it can sound a little bit sloppy if it's a little bit off time and not so musical. And so here's the medicine for that, and to demonstrate that, I'm going to show you here inside my Ableton project file. Let's go check it out. All right, friends, so in my Ableton project file here, I have a drum loop that is a two-step garage style drum beat. The kick is from our iconic pack Leviathan 2, and the percussion and hats, the clap snare hats are from Elliot Berger's Dynamite Future Bass pack called Breathtaking Future Bass. And so here's the loop. And so here I have a couple of loops from KV Balakrishnan's Mystical Indian Percussion pack that's available on blackoctopus-sound.com. And so here's one of the loops. So as I've loaded it into the project file, I have, I want to make sure that I'm on the right BPM. So this loop is produced at 135, so I have warp mode activated, 135, and I have it on beats warp mode because that is the best way to preserve drum transients and the character of drums when we're using Ableton's warp mode. And so gonna do a couple things here. So let's check all of this out together. And so this loop is just as it is. I haven't really done anything else other than this warping I just described. And listen to how in certain moments of the drum loop, it's a little bit off time from the loop that I've created. It kind of goes off time in certain moments by a few milliseconds, and it sounds a little bit sloppy and doesn't really gel as good as it can. So I noticed a couple spots in the loop here that it doesn't really gel the best. So this is the surefire way to help any drum loop that you load into your project work with your existing groove. I have a groove that I've created. I've called it Deep House Groove, and I also tend to use it for more garagey type tunes as well. It has a little bit of a shuffle on the drums, as you can hear. And so this was recorded by a professional Indian percussionist, and the typical sort of Indian style of grooves is a little bit different than a two-step garage track. And so I'm hearing a little bit of a difference in that as I play these two together. And so the first thing that I'm going to do to make this tabla loop work well is I'm going to right click and I'm going to hit the Quantize button. And so what that does is it will create these little single independent warp markers, and you can edit the quantize settings here. I've chosen 1/16th, and you can even do 1/8 if you'd like, but I recommend 1/16th just so we're catching all the little stuff in between. And yes, so that's what I've chosen for that. And so we're not done. So the next piece, and this is really important, is we need to go and zoom in to make sure that all of the drum hits are lining up perfectly. And you can see that the way these were recorded, the left channel and right channel are a little bit off from each other, and that creates a really professional, nice, ear candy-esque stereo effect, and it's beautiful. And we need to go through all of these individual drum hits and assess where they're off. Like this one, for instance, is way off. I need to adjust this quantize piece. So my tendency is to find exactly where the peak of the transient is. The stuff at the beginning isn't so essential for this particular technique. So I didn't quite get it there, but I want to get as close as possible. There we go. And so this is the new quantization point for this individual hit. This is actually one hit. As I zoom out, you can see that that's one hit. So I'm going to delete that and I'm going to move this one immediately on point to the grid. And so I want this to be exactly like mechanically quantized on point for this stage of this technique. And I'll do this one more time. So this is another perfect example. I'm going to zoom in and get a warp marker as close to the beginning of the transient as I can. And I'm going to move that over, and so it's exactly on point. The way that this will translate audio-wise as our ears perceive it as one drum hit. And so I'm treating these two instances as one drum hit. And so here's one more instance. Let's just do this one more time for y'all. And I'll delete that one, and I'm going to move this one exactly on point to the grid again. And so I'm going to do the rest of this, and I'll do it in fast motion so you don't have to watch me do this, but I'm going to do this for the whole loop. And it takes a little bit of time, and it's worth the 5-minute investment that it takes to get the drum groove right. It just makes such a difference in the final product and the way that the music feels. It could be the difference between bringing up tension in people's bodies or making people shake their ass. So it's important. So let me do this. Okay, so great. So now I have this tabla loop, and I've manually made sure that all of these drum hits are basically exactly on point to the grid, exactly where I want them. And also, if you're not a fan of the stereo separation, another little trick you can do is add a new warp marker and just bring those a little bit closer together. It sort of eliminates that stereo spread effect. So it's lost a little bit of its swing, and that's okay because we're going to re-add it back in. So now let's hear how this sounds with the main loop. See, the timing is still a little bit loose. And so that's why this next step is important. So this two-step break beat that I've made with a deep house groove template, I'm going to add that to the tabla loop, and it's going to work well because it's exactly on time with the grid now. Okay, so now let's test it. Now that I've tightened up all of these little notes a little bit more, all the little drum hits a little bit more. And so let's hear it without the groove. It doesn't sound wretched, but it doesn't really gel as good as it could. So now let's add the deep house groove. It just seems to gel a lot better. Yep, there you go, folks. I hope you enjoy, and I hope this helps you lock in your drum grooves a lot tighter in Ableton. Peace.